Yeah, hey, they go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any op, only care about what God say. My behalf with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. I did my toe and now I'm fresh, yeah. Shout out to my Abba, yeah. I follow, no regrets, yeah. They ain't learn their lesson, I'm still blessed when disrespected. Father got me eating while they out here looking packaged. Ugh, you just mad I ain't following Twitter D. Looking at me like enemy, only like in vicinity. I'm so high with the energy, yeah. You follow his way, yeah. Follow his way, yeah. Laser light show never fade, no. Ain't no stage chill. We got all night, no switch, we that bright light. On lane, we might take flight. Flight check ain't no right height. We don't fall or lose sight. Follow his way, yeah. Follow his way, yeah. We got the juice, we got the watts. Ain't no way we fading. They go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any op, only care about what God say. My behalf with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. Yeah. Yeah, hey, they go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any op, only care about what God say. My behalf with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. I did my toe and now I'm fresh, yeah.
Peace, 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 peace. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? I'm back again, live in effect. I made a couple of changes to the live stream overlays because I thought if I'm a graphic designer and a cinematographer, content creator, all of these different things, why is my stuff not looking up to par? So thank you for tuning in. I was just live not too long ago. Um, we were talking about the political space and how we are and everything dealing with the backlash of President Trump as far as it goes with the stimulus package. So that was our last video. But now we're coming into a whole different sphere. The reason why I even wanted to jump on this topic, not because it is a popular topic, but merely because as a Christian, we have a lot, as a Christian, knowing how the church organization is. There is a very, very large number of black women who still are a part of the church organization. So I have to separate those two from the actual Church of Christ and the church organization. So I had to separate those two. Being that we're in this country, we know we're separated by race in this country, even though we're not separated by race when it comes to the Bible. But I wanted to actually talk about and identify a certain type of ideology that goes against the actual that goes against what women actually are saying that they are. So, what I'm saying is there are a lot of women, specifically black women, who are in the church who are saying that they're Christian, but they go against Christian morals. They're under the impression because they are connected to the very, very dangerous doctrine that has been created with this new ageism when it comes to create Christianity. Um, and what it entails is that we can just do whatever it is that we want, and Jesus will always forgive us regardless of the sins that we commit. And I'm not trying to be here holier than thou about this. I definitely am not. But when it comes, the reason why this here is very important, very keen, is because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is the marriage institution. And we know for a fact the first institution, one of the first institutions God created between man and himself, was the institution of marriage. This is one of the institutions that God created. So, in saying that, we still have to talk about how that is being spoken about in today's world, how everything is working in today's world, and how it conflicts with what God actually wants for us, especially given the understanding that a large portion of black women, not only are they leaving the church, but they are also, as they're in the church, they're being indoctrinated with new age theology, which is incorrect when it comes to theology dealing with strictly the Bible, so biblical theology. Now, I want to first say that I am neither red pill nor blue pill. I am a married man. I am a man who has his own business. Even though I'm wearing this, don't worry about all of that. I have my own business. I have cleared $100,000. My home is what it is. Might not look like that in the office, but I have a nice home, and I am a Christian man. Again, I am a married Christian man. No, we have not been married for 15, 20 years. I've only been married for about 4 years, so I'm still in the newlywed phase. Um, but I am going to say a couple of things that um, pertain to what it is that's going on in this conversation. My wife has her own business. She had her own business before I met her. Um, when we got together, and that's just some backstory on me. When my wife and I got together, I actually started to help her to build her business to where it is now. It's her business, her business. It's hers. But as her husband, I did help to get her to where she is now. But I can't take all of the credit because she put in the work. I just supported it. Um, I was already a business owner. I had already had my business for about 10 years before, well, I should say we got together in 2017. I started my business in 2008. So, yeah, roughly about 10 years prior to me, she and I coming together as one. So, yeah, when I was already successful in my business. I had already had a name for myself locally here. Um, I had started getting reach to different other clients. And if you haven't watched my videos, you know that I operate a multimedia company. So I do graphic design, multimedia, all of the video, and all of that stuff. This YouTube to me is a hobby, something I get to do when I'm not doing that. So that's why I'm pretty inconsistent when it comes to uploads and going live and stuff like that. I want to be more consistent, but I have to operate my business When you're a business owner, y- it's kind of like operating multiple houses. So juggling multiple houses is pretty. It's not the easiest thing. Um, so that's a little backstory on me and why I'm actually getting into this conversation. Is because I want to speak on how this affects um, how it affects marriage as it pertains to man and woman and how people are viewing marriage nowadays. Because ultimately, we're not, nobody is really dating just to be dating for the rest of their life. They want to achieve some type of goals, um, some type of legacy to come from these relationships that we are developing. It just makes sense. So again, this is why I'm throwing my hand in the cat. I mean, my hat in the hat in the field for this one. So here we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is I asked this question of would black women rather be lied to? Um, and I seriously want to know the answer to this question because when it comes to the Kevin Samuels situation and what had transpired during that, and I'm not going to sit up here and I'm definitely not going to sit here and just play the video because it's all over the place and it's a lot of clips. People are just watching clips of it and not watching the entirety of the interview and how it transpired. I'm not going to get into that. Abba and Preach just did a video. um, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews did a video. O'Shea Dukes did a video. Tanya TKO did a video. Everybody's done a video on it. So I'm not even going to go into what transpired by the video. You just got to go look up Kevin Samuels, Average as Best, or you can look at the Jessica X video, which I'm actually going to play that video, just a small portion of it. Um, because there's something interesting in there that I feel like nobody has actually talked about. Um, but I asked this question is would black women rather be lied to? Because if you watch the interview, the actual call between Kevin Samuels and Miss Jessica, um, it felt as if during the conversation she was looking for validation. She was actually seeking validation and not actually asking for advice. And I kind of get this because she seems as if she's on the more passive aggressive side of the coin. So she may have been coming in to seek validation from Kevin about what her situation was when it came to her dating status. Now, one of the things that she said that was very interesting was she was tired of dating down and the reason why she didn't like to date down was because she didn't want men to come in and try to help her with her business because she's making a hundred thousand, clearing $100,000. Now, when it came to her and bringing what she wanted to bring to the table, she literally, out of her own mouth, said, "I can help him with his business." So, what we have here is I don't want men to help me, but I want to help men. So to me, this is just to me, it seems as if we have either a control issue where she wants to input herself in a man's business if he's making more money than her or he's how she says equally yoked with her. It would seem as if that's what she wants. She wants to be able to either have some control and input in the man's business, or some women just want to feel involved in what their men are doing. This is a woman who has her own business. and wants to be independent from men, and but she doesn't understand what the men she's trying to attract actually want. If I'm a business, and again, like I said, my wife and I both have businesses. My wife and I both have businesses. I've helped my wife with her business in the financial aspect, but my wife doesn't help me with my business. I'm helping my wife, but my wife doesn't help me with my business. Now, some relationships it works like that, where they have these interpersonal relationships when it comes to business and finance, and they trade off information. That's fine. That's everybody. Anybody can do whatever they want to do, right? With their business. But when you shun off and say it's lowering your standards for men to do the same thing that you want to do for men, it it becomes a very odd equation. And it leans more towards you want to fight for what you want in a relationship, vice versa of you want to cooperate inside of the relationship. Get me. I want to help. I can help him with his business, but I don't want him helping me with my business. Meaning, I want to be inside of his business and know exactly what he's doing and control certain portions of the business, as well as I want to control my business because I don't want you helping me with my business. It seems as if there's a control issue there. And as he spoke about her situation, which a lot of women I've heard speak on this situation, it always seems eerily, and this is something me and my wife have talked about, is when you're entering in into these types of relationships where the man is actually a man and you don't have, and you're coming from a relationship, when you're coming from relationships where you have to, as a woman, be the provider and everything else in your relationship, and then you go to a relationship where you don't have to do anything, just do what you do. When you're in that type of relationship, there's a totally different structure there. So now it's, I still have to fight for my independence, even though I'm given independence to do whatever I want to, because the person that I'm with now provides the structure to, and the facilities and faculties and finances to be able to do that. Now, a lot of people don't and again, I'm not throwing this out there just to be bragging, but my wife doesn't have to financially think about anything. It's already there. It's already there. Now, in some of these places, she said she wanted a 6-figure man. Many of these women say they want someone who makes 6 figures, and they're calling this being a high value man. But when you actually look into what a high value man is, it doesn't necessarily, the threshold of this is the 6 figures, but there's a lot more to it. There's an understanding there. There's a mentality there. There are values there. So high value, that's why when Kevin Samuels speaks about high value men, he also has an acronym for Henry. There's an acronym for Henry. So this acronym is for men who are actually not making the level of money. They're still high value men, but they're not making the 6 figures yet, but they're on their way to make the 6 figures. So how can you equate just having 6 figures as being a high value man when the man who coined the phrase of high value man is telling you that high value does not necessarily mean he's making six figures right now. So some of those men that she may have been dating who want to help her with her business may have been Henry's. But we are not given that information to know that. We only know that she doesn't want a man in her business. Now, the reason why I'm reiterating certain things about this whole conversation is because when we start to get into the actual information in a couple of these videos, we're gonna start to realize that a lot of these women who are speaking on this conversation that had been had are not really thinking about A, the marriage sector of it, B, what high value even means, and C, they don't care about what the men they're trying to attract actually want. And a lot of times, this is why in the Bible it tells us what love is, and love is not fighting for your own way. That's part of it. That it's part of love. Actual love is not fighting for your own way. It also means, the Bible also teaches us that women are to submit to their husbands, right? To their husbands. And that doesn't mean you get a choice in whether, because there's a housewife now, going through a divorce process. And they had millions of dollars, right? They had millions of dollars. And then he ended up losing his money. He ended up losing all his money. Now they're going through a divorce. And a lot of these women, when you ask them if he is rich when you meet him and he loses his money, would you leave him if he ended up being poor? And they hit you with the I ain't trying to do the struggle love thing. So actually, excuse my words, actually, these women don't want marriage. They actually don't want marriage. The idea of marriage to these women is a step up the ladder to getting whatever monetary and shallow things that they want, because they are unable to identify with their partner and humanize the men that they're dealing with to be able to come to an agreement, to becoming one. Mine is yours and yours is mine. Now, I once practiced Islam because that was something of my father. My father is Muslim. And by him being Muslim, I understood in a marriage that the man is supposed to provide for the woman and the woman is supposed to keep what's hers. Right. Anything that the woman makes, she keeps it to herself. And the reason why is because if the man dies in war or she becomes a widow for whatever reason, she has the ability to be able to take care of herself without the man being present during the time that she's a widow. Now, if she remarries, then she goes back into the process of her keeping what is hers. This is why I agree with men should pay for almost everything. And the reason why I say almost everything is because there are certain things that I personally feel that women should be paying for. Now, am I saying that? Now, when it's this video with Tanya TKO, and I'm gonna get to the video with her kind of disrespecting the position of Shahrazad Ali with Miss Shira 7. She was disrespecting the position of Shahrazad Ali And the reason why they even came up with this, they said that somebody gave the video to them. But in all honesty, the video was not really even given to them. I know that I'm pretty sure because these women watched Kevin Samuel's show during his last live stream. He actually had this video as a portion of his live stream. Big coincidence that she ended up having this same exact video in the same time that he posted this video. And Kevin Samuels actually reposted it in his live stream through mediocre tutorials and reviews. So with this situation going on, and again, like I said, I agree with Kevin Samuels about men paying for mostly everything. I agree with that. And that's just coming from my upbringing. That's also me submitting myself to my wife, because the Bible says that we are supposed to submit ourselves to one another. So and this is the issue that I have with both red pill, blue pill, pink pill, whatever, is because there is supposed to be submission to one another. It's not the man submit to the woman. It's not the woman submit to the man. If we already know the definition of love biblically, and again, most of these women will tell you that they're Christian, but they don't identify with God's love. God says that we submit ourselves to one another. God says that love does not fight for its own way. So if you're looking for an actual marriage and there is no God in your marriage, you are already going to lose. Money comes and goes. Beauty comes and goes. Even the definition of love that they're asking for from their men come and goes, especially when it comes to them. Because if you can tell me that there's no love in your marriage and you're simply married to this person because they have monetary access to liquid funds, then you're not in a marriage. You're in a business transaction. And if you want it to be that, why even get married in the first place? Because marriage, again, is the two becoming one. Now, again, this woman came on Kevin Samuel's show, and she wanted a man who makes 6 figures because she felt that was going to make her equally yoked to her partner, and she felt that she could not submit to someone who makes less money than she does. Again, nobody knows the path that you're going to end on. Many of these women want to come in when you are already successful because they see you're successful. And I'm okay with you saying you're being hypergamous, but at the same time, you can't say that you value hypergamy, but do not want to understand the confines of what hypergamy even means. Hypergamy may mean that you get to chase the men with the millions of dollars and they're crossing the $100,000 threshold and 6-figure threshold. You may get to chase them, right? But there's a two-way street there, which again, love does not fight for its own way. It means that you're chasing people, trying to make them think like you, feel like you, act like you want them to. And it does not work like that. Just like you have your standards, you cannot impose your standards on other people, especially the opposite sex. Across the board, men have certain values across the board, regardless if they're a good man or a bad man. They have certain values and certain things that they intrinsically want, period. Most men are shallow. We want the pretty, shiny objects, the new thing. We don't want anything. We don't like secondhand. We don't want secondhand. We want the brand new. And if you're in a space where you're able to get anything brand new, why would you want something that has already gone through the ringer? Now, granted, I'm not saying that for me, because my wife, we're blended family. My personal morals were okay with her having children because I had children. I had children myself. So why would I say something to a woman who has children? We'll just blend the family. Now, that does not mean that is the status quo for a young man who has no children, who has everything for himself, including the finances to be able to sustain a relationship. Why would a man like that want to have a woman who does not meet his standard? You're not equally yoked. At that point, you're not equally yoked. Again, when I got married to my wife, I knew she had kids. I had kids. We both had 2 children together, and we have 1 child together. We were equally yoked. We both had businesses. We were equally yoked. We had the same goals, the same aspirations, the same thing. We were equally yoked. But you're chasing someone who is not even in your sphere. Again, I asked the question of, do black women really want to be lied to? I have to go back to that question. Because if you're not understanding, if you're a Christian woman and you're out here saying that you want a 6-figure man, but you don't want anybody that you're equally yoked with, God is already giving you men that you may be equally yoked with, but you don't want to. You don't want to understand that the men that you're getting right now may need the men, and I'm not saying settle. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying settle. But this whole situation of 6 figures being the standard is idiotic, because you leave out so many other portions of a person, and there is no such thing as Superman. There's no such thing as a man who just comes packaged the way you want him to. They just don't. You have to figure out what it is that you want for yourself. Align those values with what is already there. And then you actually have to have this communication, and you have to have these communications with the person that you're talking to. See, another thing is the communication between men and women is totally selfish and totally about self. And I know I said that twice, but it is. The conversations between men and women is totally narcissistic. I want a man with $100,000, but I don't want to have to change nothing. I don't want to have to do nothing for it. Man, I want a beautiful wife. Blah, 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 blah. I want this, that, and the third, but I ain't trying. She gonna have to accept me for who I am. He gonna have to accept me for who I am. Nobody wants to budge. Nobody wants to budge. Nobody wants to budge. So the question, again, my question is, would black women rather be lied to? Because it seems as if they're used to being lied to, so therefore they want to continue to be lied to. But as Christian women, your values should not allow you to want to be lied to by anyone, especially if it's going towards petting your ego. Because again, most of these women, and just like the woman in the video, she wanted her ego pet. She was seeking validation instead of being validated herself by God. Now, there's no ego there when you're validated by God, because you're validated by God and you're also humbled by God. So again, these women want things that they're not able to attain because of the choices that they've made, especially in life. And they don't want to be with a partner that may be more equally yoked with them. And they may get success because they're equally yoked with their partner. It's so many, again, the reason why I was able to clear the amount of money that I was able to clear this year was specifically because I was married to, not just because I was married to my wife, but because there are systems within our relationships, within our relationship that actually allows me to be able to do what I need to do as a man in my own business. She's my helpmeet. She helps me to meet a certain standard. My wife is my helpmeet. But in these conversations, you don't hear nobody talking about nobody's helpmeet. You hear about submission, but again, we go back to what happens when that man loses his money. They lose the understanding of submission. Since you lost the finances, it's time for me to take over. These women are fighting. What they're fighting for, and I'm getting into that, what they're actually fighting for is against their own best interest. You're fighting to go against your own best interest, which makes sense of why most black women are Democrats. Sorry to get political, but it makes sense why most women are Democrats, because they're fighting for their own best interest. Well, against their own best interest. I'm sorry. They're fighting against their own best interest. So now I'm going to get into what I was talking about when I was saying, asking the question whether black women actually want to be lied to or not. And we're going to go to this video with Miss Average as best, as the internet calls her, but her name is Miss Jessica. So we're going to go into this video, and here you can see what we're going to see is this woman here on the left hand side is going to sit here and tell this woman that she is okay as she is, and she is entitled to whatever she wants. In reality, we are not entitled to everything we want. In reality, we are not entitled to everything we want. If that was the case, I could just go ahead and walk into a mansion and I can have the mansion if I wanted to. I can walk into a bank and take all the money out of the bank if I wanted to. I could be able to go in the grocery store. Anybody could go into the grocery store and say, hey, I want all of these groceries in my house right now, and that would be it. We have to understand the reality, and this is why it's more important. It's not more important, but it's so important that we actually humble ourselves and know where we are in life, understand where we are in life, and be okay with where we are as we move forward. That's something that a lot of people have a hard thing doing, is actually understanding where they are in life and accepting it. Accepting that we have to fix things about ourselves first. Because again, he who finds a woman, not so your man is going to come to you. It's he who finds a woman finds a good thing. Not if I get this degree, I get degrees and $100,000, then that man gonna be there. That's not what that means. And something that Kevin Samuel said that I agree with wholly is that a lot of women have missed the mark as to when they found the person that they actually were equally yoked with. Now I'm not going to go ahead and say, I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't situations that we actually choose, There aren't situations where we actually choose in life that create obstacles. Like, I'm gonna go straight forward. I'm gonna say this: it's situations where there is abuse in relationships. Now, abuse happens both ways. So we're not going to sit here and lie about that. Abuse happens both ways. Men are abused in relationships physically and all the other ways that women are abused in relationships also. We just don't hear it because of the ego of men and the fact that a lot of that stuff doesn't go reported. Now, however, I'm not going to negate it doesn't. I'm not going to negate and say it doesn't happen. That's one thing I'm not going to do. I'm not going to say it does not happen. Now, there are situations where women do get into situations where they get into relationships thinking everything is all good. And it doesn't matter. And the beauty, I mean, not the beauty of it, the understanding of it is, and I shouldn't say understanding, but truly, it doesn't matter what tax bracket you're in. You can choose the wrong man. That's why high value doesn't necessarily mean just the figure, the number of the amount of money that they make. So let's get into this video. I've been sitting up here preaching a lot. Let's get into this video. So what we're gonna watch is, again, I just want to premise this right. I want to premise this firstly. Is I felt it very opportunistic of this woman who's giving this interview. I found it very opportunistic of her to bring this woman on the show just to lie to her and coddle her. As if the internet was giving her a huge apology for what she had, quote unquote, endured when she brought it all on herself. She literally went on Kevin Samuel's show out of pocket and was told exactly what she was told. I don't find anything wrong with that because it's a respect thing. So now she's on national TV, on national, and I could say TV, but she's on the internet, nationally, on the internet, internationally, I should say. Now she's put an X on herself. She's put an X on her back. Now that any man who sees her is probably going to run because A, they already know what she's about. She only wants you because you have your money. And two, she doesn't really have a value system. She doesn't have an established value system for herself. Now, again, this woman here on the left, pointed to her in the black. I don't know what color that is. The color grading on this junk is horrible. But this woman here is going to sit here and maneuver in a way to make her, what she's doing, better. So listen to the first thing she says.
Describe your ideal man to you. Oh, my ideal man will be in person.
Hold on, let's go back.
In person. Just as far as like
video. So let me go ahead and try to find the actual video, because the video that I'm looking for. Who is Jessica X?
Hi everyone, my name is Paris. I'm Real Black Love Match.com Elites Matchmaker. Today we're in for a special treat. We're doing pop-up match for the first time ever in person. Just as far as like your
So again, this is a commercial. This is literally a commercial for her. The only reason why she's even doing this in person is because of Jessica. That's the only reason. The only reason she's doing this is a commercial for her matchmaking service. For her matchmaking service.
preference. Describe your ideal man to you. Oh, my ideal man will be one, have good character. Two, is a good father. A masculine man. Someone who's self-driven, who has ambitious, and who has tenacity. You said masculine. What's masculine to you? Masculine is not necessarily a physical trait, but has core values of a traditional man and traditional roles.
So we're listening to what her traits, what she actually wants from a man, which I don't have any problems with or in qualms. Anybody can want whatever they want. But what I want you to understand is she said she wants a man with traditional values, but she wants him to come. So, but we know from the last video she wants to create a non-traditional family. Now, she didn't say whether he could have kids or not. She didn't say any of that, which I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to even ask about that. But she wants to have a traditional family structure. The caveat to that is, in order for her to have a traditional family structure, she has to submit herself to a man. In order for her, out of her own mouth, for her to even submit to a man, he has to make more money than she does. But again, what happens in the future when this man, and this is something that I wanted to talk to about when it came to video. I forgot the couple's name, but they were talking about sex in the marriage. But she didn't think about what happens when this man loses his business. Or do you become even more, let's say for instance, because right now we're in a coronavirus, she has a pet grooming service. What happens when she loses her business? Let alone a man losing his money. What happens when she loses her money, loses her business? Does she just stop and become way more submissive to her husband? Or does she fight for her independence to be able to be equal, to be on even ground with him? Does she do that? So now it becomes a competition between the two of them? Is that what we do? Is that what happens? It becomes a competition between the two of you? Because I lost my business, now I got to get my business back now. I need you to make sure that you help me with my business to causing more strain in the relationship. Like, what are we doing here? You're looking for a man, but do you really understand what it means to be married? Let alone be married to the type of man that you want. A lot of these women, again, this woman on the right is very manipulative about this situation. Very, very manipulative about this situation. Because again, she only brought her on here to tell her lies and to get her on here because that's the easiest way she can get connected to this Kevin Samuels situation. But she's talking about matchmaking, but she doesn't really get into what matchmaking is. And I feel like matchmaking is horrible anyway. Might as well just go online and do all of that. Got matchmaking services all over. but she wants a traditional marriage. When we talk about traditional marriage, let's keep this clear. When we're talking about traditional marriage in this country, period, period, we're talking about the traditional Christian marriage that many people have longed for many of these last decades. The traditional Christian marriage. Traditional Christian marriage. Because tradition in this country has always been Christian. Now we got, other cultures and but in this country, it has traditionally been a Christian / Catholic country since its inception. You got the Puritans all the way down to now, the Great Reformation that happened. The cornerstone of a traditional marriage is the biblical Christian marriage. So, how do you have a traditional marriage if you already have children out of wedlock? Again, I don't have the traditional marriage. I have a traditional looking marriage because it's my wife and I and in the way that we structure our household. But again, we don't have a traditional marriage. I had children out of wedlock and so did she. So did she. And again, I don't care what none of these women say. I don't care what none of these men say. Ultimately, they want to be married. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about the institution of marriage. The reason why many of these men are swaying away from marriage to black women is because it creates a very hostile situation. I'm not saying all situations, because I am married to a black woman. I said I was going to be married to a black woman. I was raised to be married to a black woman, and I just had to find the black woman that was right for me. That's it. Just like anybody else would. You just have to find the person that's right for you. You have to find someone who is equally yoked. And I am talking about as a man. As a man. As a man. Not as a woman. It's not your job to go looking for a man. It's not your job to go looking for a man. Because a lot of these Christian women always want to talk about Boaz and Ruth. But Boaz found Ruth when she was working in the field. She wasn't even thinking about a man. Sorry, I squeaked on that one. But she wasn't. She wasn't even thinking about a man. She had a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Boaz found her working in the fields. Go look it up. So, even though she wants a traditional marriage, she has to ultimately look at her situation and identify the fact that she is not the traditional woman for any of these men. Because traditionally, she would be saving herself for marriage, and she would have children within the marriage. And not be bringing other situations into the marriage. Traditionally, boy meets girl, girl meets boy. They get married, they have children, they live happily ever after. That's the traditional move of it. There's other things in between that. But you're looking for a traditional marriage, but you're not living traditionally. You're more worried about, and she said up there, can you see me? I'm a 5. I'm a 10. I should have said I was a 10, but if Beyonce at 8, blah, 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 we'll see. I mean, watch the video. You'll see it. Beyonce, blah, 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 blah. You're worried about Everything else, you're worried about so many things that most men are not even oblivious to. The first thing that I saw was with my wife, and I'm not gonna lie, she was beautiful. To me, she was beautiful. The first chance I got, I was like, oh, this gonna be my wife. Put it on the internet. Put it on my Facebook page. This is my best friend. Hey, I even had some of my friends trying to get at my wife. Talking about something, oh, that's you, fam? Yes, that's me. That's all me. All day long. I love my wife. I might not like her sometimes, but I love my wife. But again, like, what are we even talking about here as far as a traditional marriage when you're not even coming into the situation traditionally? You have to reevaluate and reassess what your life has brought you to and work from there. There has to be some type of foundation. You can't just be going out willy-nilly, not thinking about what you have already have done, because you will always reap from what you sow. You will always reap from what you sow. Always. So if you chose to have 8 kids, 6 kids, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, you run the gambit of not being able to meet somebody who can have almost any woman on the top level he wants. You're not even in the running. You can't compete in community college with somebody who is going to Yale or Harvard. You just can't. You can't. You're not going to compete with them. You're not even in the running. So you have to be able to do certain things to be able to elevate yourself. To get to though somebody may have went to a community college, does that mean that they can't then become a millionaire? That doesn't mean that. But it also means that you have to work in the confines of your foundation. You went to community college. That means you have to do probably 100 more hours a day than the other person who went to Yale or Harvard. That's what that means. This woman says she's above the people that's around her. Of course you can't get a man that's equally yoked with you because your mentality already signals to most men that you think you're above them. Again, if me and my wife divorce right now, which will never happen because I don't even believe in divorce, and she doesn't either. She doesn't. But if she and I were to happen to divorce, and again, I'm still clearing, even if we did, we still would be clearing whatever money that we clear. Let's make that absolutely clear. Even if we were to divorce, and we split it down the middle, and we were clearing the same amount of money, and I went to go find someone to be married to again, if I was looking for marriage, I would not be trying to look for someone who doesn't have children. Off bat, off rip. That's me as a man saying this. Because, one, I don't want any more children. They're a huge responsibility. Two, as a man, why would I want to have a relationship with someone that I have to start all over again with, especially in the realms when it comes to family? I have to find somebody who's equally yoked to me. Somebody who's already in the same pathway as myself. This is why a lot of people get married early, because they're already in the trajectory of where they want to go already. It just makes sense for the young women to be the competition for the older women, because most most men want to have someone who's going into the trajectory they're going. Young men marry young women. The reason why older men get to have younger girls is because the young women want what it is that the older men want. And the older men want what the young women have. Their virality, their youth. That's what they're chasing. So to be upset as a 35-year-old woman that you in competition, and this is another thing why I didn't like about the Tanya TKO thing is when I actually watched a couple of videos from the She-Ra 7 channel, it was like, bro, you have no clue what you're talking about. She was saying that she can compete with the young girls. No, you cannot. You're not if you're 40 something, you should not be trying to compete with the young girls. Unless you're trying to be a cougar. I mean, that's different. That's different. But that's also not traditional, and that's also not, it probably won't even inevitably happen the way that you want to, because you might get a young boy and he's in the beginning stages of trying to obtain fortune and success, and you're not even going to want to you're not even going to want to entertain him other than sexually. And that's going to get old soon, so you're going to throw him away. Again, most of these women aren't even thinking about the things that they're either saying or what they want. And it's not a diss. It is what it is. We can literally watch it right here. She said she wanted a traditional family, but she doesn't come in traditionally. That doesn't make any sense.
Someone who's a problem solver, someone who is who has that desire to want more out of life. I have that desire to want more out of life and live my best life, and I want someone who has that desire too. I don't want to be with a partner where I'm like, hey, you should start your own business. You should do this to better our life. Mm-hmm. Like, and then I feel like I'm being a mother to them, or they may feel like I'm being a mother to them. So I can't give somebody that drive. So I figure that I need somebody who already have that's self-driven. So
So one thing I want to say about that, what she just said was about this drive that she wants men to have. I do think a lot of men are like there are a lot of men as well as women who like I think and you know what, I will say people, because I'm in the business of working with people all the time, and I work with people in the music industry here. I work with people who are in business here, and there is a large portion of people who are just not driven. They might have a LLC, they might have a business, but they're not driven towards upwards mobility when it comes to what it is that they're doing. They want the easy way. And that's what I'm hearing right now. She wants something that's easy to get in, and she don't have to worry about it. She don't want to put in the work. The reason why I'm getting that is because I've watched both videos. I watched both videos, this one and the other one.
Taking that, like, one of your red flags would be a lack of ambition. Tell me some other red flags. This is like, oh my gosh, this is a turn off. I don't like men that are like this. I don't like you when they do this. Any red flags?
I would say men who of course men who are jealous, have jealousy and control, and of course that, but also someone who's comfortable with lack.
So like that poverty mentality, can't get down with that. I got you.
Just in the box, like, don't think outside the box.
I got you. As far as like,
so again, she doesn't really want a traditional marriage. She says she doesn't want anybody who's controlling this, that, and the third. I get that. I understand that fully. But I'm listening to the context because I'm listening. The only thing I have of what she's actually thinking is from her last performance and this one. And again, she says she doesn't want anybody controlling. But yet and still, she wants to be able to have some type of control when it comes to her partner. She wants to be able to be in the ends of what it is that her partner is doing.
Dating. Tell me what your I guess we're in the pandemic right now. So how would your ideal pandemic date go?
My ideal date will be a good view, good food, good wine,
Right.
and jazz music.
Jasmine. Okay. In your spare time, what do you like to do around town?
I'm like, this is a place called Wine by Design, and you get to paint and be creative and drink wine. So I love doing that when I get free time.
Do you ever hang out with your girlfriends or go out?
Sometimes not too much, so,
Okay.
especially not during this pandemic. It's really,
Right. Okay. Do you like to travel?
I love to travel.
Where?
I love seeing new cultures and learning new things. If I feel like it's going to cause conflict, because I don't like confrontation. Like I try to avoid it if I can, and I'll hold it in. So they kind of got to like push me like, what's wrong, and kind of dive a little bit deep. But there's something I'm working on, and I realize.
So when was
The issue, the relationship.
if I was to round up your exes and ask them what's one good thing about Jessica and what's one major bad thing about Jessica, what would they tell you?
Well, they'll say that I'm loyal, and they'll probably say that honestly, if I have an issue in a relationship, a lot of times I don't express it, especially if I feel like it's going to cause conflict, because I don't like confrontation. Like I try to avoid it if I can, and I'll hold it in. So they kind of got to like push me like, what's wrong, and kind of dive a little bit deep. But there's something I'm working on, and I realize.
So I don't know if anybody here. I don't know if you heard it or not, but basically she was saying that she doesn't like conflict. When she's in a relationship, one of her issues is that she doesn't like conflict and she tries to avoid conflict. Now, I'm just going to tell you flat out. It seems as if she's passive aggressive. She's passive aggressive. She's passive aggressive. And the reason why I say she's passive aggressive is again, I'm going off both videos. From what she's saying, she says she has to work on it. The fact that she does this, and as well as the video. She was very passive aggressive in that video. And I don't think nobody who actually looked at the video is against Kevin Samuels in that video is understanding that this woman was being passive aggressive, because passive aggressiveness is taught by women to be able to do. So you don't really be angry with your husband or lash out with your husband or the men that you're with or people in general. You just kind of let them know in a sort of kind of less aggressive way, but you're still aggressive with them. Which passive aggressiveness is the inability to communicate how you feel. Now, aggressiveness is you actually expressing how you feel, but it's the over emotionalism that's attached to it. There's a way to express how you feel without doing all of that, right? But again, in order to be marriage material, you have to be able to communicate. Now, that does not come with just the wedding day comes and then you automatically able to telepathically know what one another want and what your needs are. It doesn't happen like that. It takes years to be able to develop that. It takes communication to be able to develop that. It takes over and over and over and over of saying the same thing over again to your partner so that they actually understand it. And it may not even take that many times. It may just be you need to say it in another way, or you need to ask your partner, did you understand what it is that I said? And not in that little passive aggressive way like you talking to your child. I mean, literally, like, babe, are you understanding what I'm saying? Because I want to be able to communicate it effectively to you. And that goes both ways. Again, me, I'm not red pill, I ain't blue pill. I ain't neither one of them. I'm for people and I'm for how God created things to be. That's what I'm about. So I don't care what anybody else has to say about it. This is where my stance is. I'm neutral. I'm in the center. I'm looking at this on both sides, not just one. I'm just identifying one side right now.
So when was your last relationship? When did that end?
Die, like I'm over that, you know. I want to meet somebody on my level who share traditional core values as I do, and I feel like that's what's gonna make me happy.
Right. You got love.
Positions I could be a lot further along because, you know, as Black women we're taught to be that ride or die chick and to hold him down till he get his rapping career off or till he get this till he get this off, and I'm like, I'm tired of that.
It's struggle love. You got struggle love.
You know, ride or die. Like I'm over that. You know.
Again, remember what I was telling you that a lot of these people are talking about this struggle love and they don't want to date down and da 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 da. The hypocrisy of you even saying someone having to date down means that you think you're above everyone. And this is what Kevin Samuels said. You think you're above everybody that you're around. But at the same time, you want men to date down. It's okay for a man to date down, meaning that y'all not equally yoked. Y'all not equally yoked. You want him to come down to you on your level and meet you where you're at. But you don't want to meet nobody else where they're at. You see the hypocrisy of that? I don't want to date down. I want somebody who's on the same level as me. But you jacked up too. How you gonna talk? You jacked up and everybody else around you jacked up, and you jacked up, and then the people you meeting jacked up, but you calling out they're jacked up. They're planking their eye, but you can't even you don't even notice the plank in your own eye. The fact that you jacked up, and even though you got money, you still jacked up and unhappy. You ain't even thinking about that. Because it's all about what you want. It's not about what nobody else wants. It's not about anybody else's what everybody else's standards are. You don't care about that. You kicking it in the door, waving the 4-4. Papa said, don't hit me no more. That's what you doing. You don't care about nobody else. And people who are looking for, if I'm looking for a wife to marry, and I sit down and have a conversation with you, and I ask certain questions of you, I'm going to already know you ain't the one for me. You think about yourself. Literally, we can just watch this conversation unfold between these two women and identify a lot of issues.
You know, I want to meet somebody on my level who share traditional core values as I do, and I feel like that's what's going to make me happy.
Right. So you were.
Again, she keeps saying she wants a traditional marriage, but she's not the traditional woman. She's not the traditional woman. You're not traditional. Traditional core values means that you have to submit yourself to a man. And that means regardless. This is why y'all hate y'all grandparents in their marriages, because you feel like you were better than them and you don't deserve the type of marriages that they have, but you still talk about these lifelong marriages of 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 years, and that's what you want, but you don't even want to put in the work that they put in. You don't even want to put in the work that they put in, dealing with each other's issues and the things that happen within the relationships. That's why you don't last in relationships. That's why you jumping from one relationship to another. You ain't even been out of a relationship 2 years and you already sitting down talking to a matchmaker. You ain't even got yourself whole yet. And a lot of women were mad about that video. probably because the way she was saying it. And don't get me wrong, just because I'm Christian don't mean I look. I don't have to follow nobody. I can watch whatever I want to watch. I know how to identify what I shouldn't be watching. So don't even go there with me. But again, you're not ready for this. You're not ready. You're not ready for what you're asking for because you haven't even identified what your strengths and weaknesses are. Are you really ready for a marriage with a man, a whole nother person who has their own ideas, their own identity, their own everything? Are you really ready to meet the standard of that person? Not just them meeting your standard, but are you really ready to meet their standard also? Are you really? Or do you want to just be told that you're okay? Do you just want to be told that you're okay? The way you are, and he's going to meet you where you're at, and this, that, and the third. Not identifying the fact that everybody has their own standards and they do what they want to do. This is a control thing. And many of the women that I've heard talking about this have control issues because they want to be in control of their relationships. They don't know how to be on teams. They don't know how to be on teams. This is why certain standards, when it comes to men, a lot of us play team sports or we do things team-based. This is why a lot of men are supervised. There are more CEOs and supervisors of companies that are men because they know how to actually work within team dynamic and community dynamics. Women have never been, as a whole, in a situation where they have had to work in a team dynamic. They know how to compete against each other. That's a part of the corporate ladder. They know how to compete against each other, but they don't know how to work with one another. And one of the things that I want to identify with this video, because I want to get away from this video, I want to go into a couple of other things. Well, the thing is, this woman is sitting here telling this woman whatever she wants to hear. She's sabotaging her. And this is one thing that I've heard even from my wife. My wife has told me she doesn't like being around women because women are messy and they like to sabotage you, and they will tell you all day you okay, and they will be doing great, and they will look at you and they will see you doing bad and be okay with it. They don't try to lift you up. They will try to tear you down. Me and my wife actually sit down and watch on Sundays. We watch Married to Medicine? Not Married to Medicine. What is this show? We watch Married to Medicine too, but the Real Housewives of Potomac. She and I sit down and watch that. Don't judge me. I watch it for a totally different reason why she watches it. I watch it because, again, I'm in multimedia. She watches it because she likes the entertainment of it. I get a little entertainment in it too, but I really actually just want to see how they produce these types of television shows. But again, even on that show right now, they have the lady, the woman Monique Samuels, which is funny. I think that's what her last name is, Monique. And throughout the seasons, my wife and I have identified that the woman Giselle, who isn't married, is a divorcee, who doesn't have really anything going on for herself, is trying to tear down Monique because she's mad at her because Monique came in the situation on top, and Giselle was going through whatever it is she was going through with her relationships. So she needed to bring Monique down. So now we come to a situation where now during the reunion, Monique like going off and they acting like they don't know what's going on. Because again, They will try to sabotage you when you're in these types of groups. They have never once tried to work as a team on anything. All they do is chit chat and gossip about one another and be mad about little petty stuff. This is what they do in their own groups. So of course this woman is, and I'm not going to talk about the attractiveness between the two because my wife actually got mad at me because I agreed she was what she graded herself, probably a little bit lower as it pertains to me visually seeing her. Like if I were to see her on the street, would I be trying to talk to her? No, because she on my scale, she's not somebody physically, to me, and this is my opinion, to me physically she does not look like a woman I would talk to. But every man has his own preference, and this is another thing. Women think that men's preferences are all the same, and they're not. This is something that's been going on the whole time. Everybody's want to put everybody in the box. However, there are some identifiers as far as who dates who. Now, let's talk. Now, if I'm a lawyer, and I'm going to galas and all kinds of different things pertaining to what it is that I do, my wife has to look like what it is that I do. That's from a male standpoint. My wife has to look like what it is that I do, and she has to look like how I operate. I have to exude success. I have to exude the 10% because I'm in the 10%. If I'm in the 10%, I have to exude that. Okay? The understanding of that is when women think about it, they don't want to think about that portion of it. That men have this standard. They don't want to identify that. They want to say, bump what your standard is. This is what your standard is. You're going to like me how I am. You're going to take me as I am. You're going to do what I say. Da-da-da-da-da. It's a control thing. It's simply just control. And it's disgusting. Because, again, it does not bring us together. It doesn't bring us together. It doesn't bring us together. It actually just tears us apart. So let's just move on.
You weren't asking for a millionaire, which I didn't make you worry. You were just looking for someone who was like financially stable.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And also, I didn't say the other traits, which I thought was common sense, which was core values.
One thing I want to say is she did say she wanted a man that makes six figures. She thinks she needs a 6-figure man. So we're not going to get being financially stable and having 6 figures is not the same thing. It's a lot of people. Again, let's talk about this. There's a housewife right now. They were cash poor. They had the Lamborghinis, the yachts, all the dresses. They had all of that stuff. They had all of it, and they were cash poor. Cash poor. Outdoing so many other people, but they were cash poor. So having all of this money means absolutely nothing if you're not financially stable. Now if financial stability has absolutely nothing to do with the amount, but how you actually divide the funds up. If I make $100,000 a year and I live on a $20,000 budget and I live a $20,000 lifestyle, of course I'm going to be doing a lot better than everybody around me. But if I have $100,000 and I spend $100,000, I'm just as broke as the Poopy and Ray Rays that I say I don't like. The thing is, a lot of these women, they say they want somebody with financial stability, but I don't think they understand what financial stability and financial literacy is really all about. Because there's been plenty of times when women would be like, well, if he can't just give me, and this is not just once, it's not just that one video. It's been plenty of them where they be like, if he can't give me $50,000 offhand, I don't want him. Or if I can't get a Birkin, or if I can't just go out shopping whenever I want to, I don't want him. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And it keeps going over and over and over again. If that's what your core values are, then you're sadly mistaken about the financial literacy as well as financial stability. Financial stability has nothing to do with the amount, but all about how you manage the funds. Just because you have $100,000 in assets does not make you $1 million in assets. Does not correlate with you being a millionaire. You just have a lot of assets.
Good character, good father, of course, all that. But outside of that, I want this too.
You know what they say?
What?
Common sense ain't always common. Right?
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, I shouldn't say assets. I should have said liabilities. You have $1 million in liabilities. So excuse me for that.
But yeah, I mean, and I think the interpersonal skills, substance that doesn't get talked about enough.
Exactly.
And that is important. You know, that's one thing that we preach over and over with matchmaking.
And I mean, I definitely think I'm a confident woman, but when I was put on that platform, and then I looked at my phone and I see my face plastered up there,
and you wasn't expecting that.
I didn't know my face was up there, and I can tell.
So I want to say this, that she did lie and say she didn't. She said she didn't know she was up there. She may or may not have known that she was going to be visually there, but she knew she was there. And again, she was passive aggressive about it. She was very passive aggressive about it. Now, she may have been. When I watched it, it does seem like she may or may not have been. What I want to say, may or may not be. Have been actually. She may have been I don't want to say sabotage, but caught off guard by her being physically on the screen. So let's move on, because I want to talk about this video here, which I was very disappointed in Kevin on stage. And again, we're both Christians, and that is something that is a core value of the two of us. And that's one of the reasons why I brought this here. But this conversation that they're having is very, very, very wrong. In so many
ways. As a resident black woman on our illustrious show, let's start with the first clip. Walk me through your thoughts.
Ooh, Jesus. What I thought was he didn't have to be that mean. He didn't have to be that rude. Now, will I say, was there some pieces of validity in what he was saying? Listen, I have to tell my friends that are getting closer to my age that they can't date like they're in their 20s. I have to tell them that. I'm like, you cannot date. You can't be having this list that's stacked up as if you this 20-year-old hop in. I'm not saying they have to settle, but like, to tell this woman that she's average at best, why do that? When she rated herself as a 5,
I said, come on now.
And first of all, you can't take 7. That was the rudest thing. Taking 7 off of the rating scale, you can't do that.
That is 1 through 9. What do we do? We can't just take numbers
off the board.
I was like, that is the safe place. That's the place to say, I know that I'm attractive, but I'm not trying to say that I'm Halle Berry. And he gonna take that from her? Mm-hmm. So she went all the way down to 5, and he said, rate yourself off your face. Why did she? First of all, why she said, can you see me? Girl. Why you do that to yourself? Why? But in his rudeness is what's overwhelming. What he's saying, however, unfortunately, is partially true. Like, dudes don't be caring. His whole point, like, I watched a lot of the video. His whole point was a lot of dudes don't care how much money you bring to the table. Not dudes that have their own money. Yeah, is what he was saying. If a dude is already making his own money, he don't care how much money you're bringing to the table. He cares about how you look and your age. Yeah. And unfortunately, I have seen that be the case. But he didn't have to say it to her like that. He served that thing up like a hot pile of crap and tossed it at her face. I just, and there's some people who like she was like, I'm such a fan of your show. So she already knew how rude he was.
Yeah, so, yeah. That could have been a surprise.
Right. So it's unfortunate that she would subject herself to that type of abuse to get.
So I'm gonna stop it right there. So this is kind of, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on about this same thing. That chick Angel sits here and says he didn't have to be so rude to her. I've watched most of the video. But his rudeness overwhelmed the entire video. Obviously, she did not watch the entire video. She watched the clip of the video that everybody is posting, but she did not watch the entirety of that interview. He was very, very patient with that woman. He was not only patient with her, he was straightforward and blunt with her. And a lot of times people can't take bluntness and they don't like bluntness. And again, what are you fighting for? Do you want to be told the truth or not? Would she have rather her lie to her? Would she have rather him lie to her? And again, the answer in the consensus around here is starting to be yes. Most women want to be lied to. They want you to spare their feelings and their emotions. They want you to spare their emotions. But this is how men communicate, and you're not going to change it. I'm sorry. The men that you want and you talk to, this is how they communicate. And again, like Kevin Samuel said in they had the whatever group they had, whatever the clubhouse they had. This is how men talk. Don't ask a man to not talk like a man, because then you need to go get a woman to go talk to her. And that's what she did. She didn't like how a man was talking to her. She went to go talk to a woman. And what did the woman do? Sitting beside her, she lied to her. She told her everything to make her feel good, to rub her in the back publicly. And because she was publicly shamed, she had to be publicly coddled. But it does nothing for her in the long run. It does absolutely nothing for her in the long run. It doesn't help her at all. It literally does not help her at all. How can you say that you care for and you love someone if you're willing to lie to them about even the most minute things? And this is something that I hear from women talking about men. Like, oh my God. Women don't want men to lie to them, even about the smallest things, but then they'll lie to each other about everything. It doesn't make any sense. You don't want to be lied to, but you want to be lied to. You might as well just be lied to the entire time and keep up with the delusion. And that's exactly what's going on, is there's a delusion that has been continuously kept up with, and nobody wants to break it. How are you supposed to have an effective relationship, an effective marriage, if all y'all gonna do is lie to each other? Doesn't make any sense. Not even communicating. You're just lying to one another. Just lying. Just to be lying. You're just lying. Just lying.
I mean, my husband can be rude, but he ain't rude like that. Like, I would have to just pop. He was even like, oh, and Marcus don't be holding no punches. So I just can't imagine having, I wouldn't have been able to stay as calm as she was. I've been like, that's why you in a dark space by yourself, N-word. Yo, old ass beating. Who you beating off with a stick? They're hookers. They're not women that are going after you because they're not getting paid for it.
Oh my God.
Anyway, oh my God.
My initial thoughts were
one thing I want to say about what she just said. One thing I want to say about what she said is very, because a lot of these women talk about feminism and all of that stuff. They're very feminist oriented, and she just slut shamed every woman that was that he talked about. I mean, but I guess it's okay when women do it.
You know, to your point of her being aware of this show, I'm sure he didn't just adopt this personality. I'm sure this is what he's known for. I don't know why in the year our Lord and Savior 2020.
But again, I hate to stop it right there. Again, it's like, did you first of all, did you watch the entirety of it? And you're more mad about him ending the conversation rudely, vice versa of her coming into the conversation rudely. Like, do we not know how YouTube live streams work? Do we not know how live streams work?
20, you would let someone talk to you like that from a Zoom screen.
No,
Right.
I mean, I'd have been all right. You ain't. I would not subject. Listen, first of all, you yourself, okay, you got to think you're a 10.
Yeah.
As a person, the world don't think you're ugly. Okay, I know.
Right.
You know, but she just say, bless her heart, bless her. She came out with, well, let me back up because I know I'm not a 10. I know that about myself. Okay, I'm a good father. I'm hard. I'm ambitious. You got to know the truth about yourself. I don't.
But again, if he's saying you got to know the truth about yourself, and he's a male, and he knows he's not a 10, why even put up the charade of thinking you're a 10 if you know you're not a 10? Anybody? You rather lie to yourself and tell yourself you're a 10, knowing you're not a 10, instead of going through life knowing who you are, knowing what you are and where you are, and moving on from that, living the life that you're given, accepting what you have right now.
I don't think I'd ever come out and say I'm a 5 to my own self. You know, when the beard is freshly, groomed, I'll be like 6.8. I felt secondhand embarrassment on behalf of her because she subjected herself to it.
Yeah.
You called in and let a man talk to you like that. I myself cannot imagine speaking to someone else that way.
No.
I can't just, Now, as far as what he was saying,
The validity of his point. Do you feel as though?
He also said, and this is later on in the clip, she makes over $100,000.
Right.
Right? She's not poor, or broke.
Yeah, no, but that was the point that she was saying, because she makes so much money, she wants a man. Her whole point was, I want a man that's making at least 6 figures. And she's like, because I make 6 figures. He was like, don't no man with money care that much about how much money you bring to the table. If they're making a lot of money, they want the Maserati. They don't want the souped up, in his opinion, this is not me trying to talk about her, they don't want the souped up Corolla. They want the new Maserati.
Yeah, and I think
and you gotta, and if that is the case, if I'm the top 10, again, if you're the top 10 of men and you can be able to get the new Maserati, why would I buy a daggone 1995 Corolla? Women ain't trying to do that. And that's what I've been saying. Women ain't trying to buy. Women don't want a 95 Corolla, but if you're a 95 Corolla, you want somebody to buy you who's looking for a Benz. That doesn't make any sense. That means you're not thinking about what other people want. You don't care about what other people want as to why you are having issues in your relationship. It just correlates. You're having issues in your relationships because you only care about what you want and not what anybody else wants. Again, what they're skipping over is the fact that he asked her a lot of questions. Do you even know what these men want? He kept asking that. Do you even know what these men want? Do you even know where they're at? And she continuously said no. So obviously you're not even in the predicament to even do that. And she keep on saying, oh, he was so rude. He was so rude. Because they're only talking about, they only watched that segment of the video, the end segment, not the entire video, the end segment. And he kept saying, ma'am, I don't want to do this. Please go ahead and call me and book a session. Book a session. book a session, book a session. And she kept doing that. And it's just like, bruh, you're tweaking.
To his point, men, other men, not me, not Joshy, the rest of the world is subject to this. Men can be very superficial, and probably if they are high earners, would prefer you don't bring anything to the table because it can make them feel like more of a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you bringing a lot to the table, and now what am I supposed to do? Like, a lot of times, high earning men, millionaires, athletes, they're not going out and getting their equal in their field.
If this is true, then women should not be mad because it's the truth. But again, would y'all rather be lied to and told, yeah, you can go ahead and get you a NFL player and you are a subpar? And I hate to say that like that, but you're not what they're looking like. You're not what they're looking for. You want something that they're not looking for, and you want to be a part of something that they're looking for. They're not looking for. You want to insert yourself because you think your mind, you say, in your mind, you're saying, oh, I can have this person if I want to. But you never even asked them if they wanted you. We're identifying the fact that a lot of women can't take rejection. I've seen that all over the internet. I just watched the video. The man was asking, he was on the beach and he was asking the ladies, what if a man turned down sex? And they automatically said, well, he must be gay. And then they asked, same group of women, well, what if he turns down sex from you and y'all dating? Then I guess he getting raped. That's what they said. That's what they said. It's on the internet. You can find it. I guess they getting raped then. Right? Really? Did you really say that? Yep, they certainly said that. Because rejection is not supposed to go from women are not, because women are women, they're not supposed to be rejected. These types of women. Because again, I'm married. I don't have to deal with this. My sons do. My sons have to deal with it. My nephews do. My male cousins have to deal with this. Men who I'm around who are single have to deal with this.
You know what I mean? Like, they often get, I don't want to say get, I want to say go after a woman that's just pretty in the face. He's not wrong. I just, why you said that to
why
them?
Why you say it?
But this is the thing. They want to know why he said it. They said what he said was right, but just don't tell it to her. He right, just don't tell her that. And I'm gonna go to this other video. In this video, and I'm not gonna go all the way through the video because it's about time for me to go ahead and be a parent again.
A cleaning service or getting him to do some of those things.
Yeah. These women here are upset about what Shahrazad Ali says in her video. And I'm going to go to that video first. And basically, there's a comment on here. It's a new comment. And she labeled, I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is what she said, basically said in the video. Self-discipline, courteousness, cheerfulness, self-respect, cleanliness, love. The seven things that are the attributes of a good black woman. What's wrong with that?
That terminology, it's like one of those where they tell you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. What do that mean? How can I make that functional in my day-to-day life to benefit me as a practice? It sounds like all theory. Where's the practicum? What do I do? The good black woman has self-discipline. That's self-control. Let me make that real for you, sisters. We can start with our mouth. The good black woman can control her mouth. She don't have to say everything that comes up. It's okay if he get the last word sometime. She don't cuss in public. And she works on not cussing in private. She don't tear a man down with her mouth because they can't out-argue us. Can't nobody out-argue us. I have charged that we nag our men too much. We keep our men's head tied up so much with our petty grievances about our personal relationship that he don't have time to think and plan for our future. Because he got to deal with what's going to happen with us every day. You know, it's real odd. When the black man come home, he almost have to do a wind test or stick his toe in the door. He don't know what's waiting. He don't know who in there today. He know it's a possibility that there's some kind of new monster that he didn't even know about yesterday. So, you know, we need to not make it like that. We need to not be so vicious with our mouth. You know, men are not petty like that. They're not going to out-argue us. And it has been proven that verbal abuse is just as harmful as physical abuse. So let's not use our mouth to do that to him. The good black woman is courteous. She says, thank you, baby. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate every effort you make. Try harder. I'm gonna work with you. Thank you. I know you did your best. Now that's a whole new language. But just to say that during the course of the day, every day, with the man that you're trying to be with or want to be with, will make our life easier. We can't get it if we don't give it. We keep wanting them to give us and do something for us that we refuse to do and give to them. It don't work like that. The good black woman has self-respect. She don't have to go out naked just to get the attention of a man. I have sisters all over the country, and they come up to me after the lectures, and they'll be talking to me, and they'll say, well, you know, all he think about is sex. All he think about is my body. I say, why don't you show him something else? And then here's the really good one. They'll come up and they'll have on a weave. They have on false eyelashes, another whole face, false fingernails, and all of that. And then they'll say, but I'm looking for a real man. The good black woman can pull a dress down without thinking that it devalues her. She doesn't have to use her body because she has so many other good attributes about herself to get the attention of a man. We can take the sisters in a position to take all of the charge and sexual energy out of the black community by just dressing differently. We have the power and control over that. That don't stop you from being beautiful. That don't stop you from getting a man. And it certainly puts things on the right perspective so some other judgments can be made other than physical. It don't take no knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to have a sexual reaction. That's the most base. We spend less time doing that than anything else we do. So, you know, that doesn't always have to be the forefront issue. We know we are capable of that. The good black woman has intelligence, meaning that she knows how to behave properly in the streets.
I'm gonna stop it right there, simply because I don't want to go through the whole 12 minutes and make this thing a lot longer than it has to be. But this should give you an idea of exactly what Shahrazad Ali is actually saying. Now, again, we're going to go all the way back to what I was talking about in the beginning. And there's this video where it's a live stream between Tanya TKO and Shira 7. And in this video itself was posted by Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. And Kevin Samuels. So they reposted it. Actually, Kevin Samuels reposted it from Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. So in this video, we right here it's a list of everything. So it's love, cleanliness, intelligence, self-respect, cheerfulness, self-discipline. So we know exactly what it is that's in this video. She listed them. It's in her book. Now, this video happened to come across my timeline, I guess because I had just been watching a lot of Kevin Samuels, and this is related to the Kevin Samuels video, so therefore this is what popped up. Tonight we're reacting live to Sarzar Ali vintage footage teaching what she thinks is a real, caps lock, real woman is. What she thinks a real woman is. So she sits here and says she thinks a real woman is. But if you're opposed to what she says a good, and she didn't even say a real black woman, she said a good black woman. That's what she said. She said a good black woman. She never said a real black woman. Can never take that away from you. You're always going to be a real black woman. The question is if you are a good black woman or not. So if you're in opposition, if she is in opposition of what Shahrazad Ali says, then she means that you shouldn't have self-discipline. You shouldn't be courteous. You shouldn't be cheerful. You shouldn't have any self-respect. You shouldn't be intelligent. You shouldn't be clean. And you should always hate. Show no love. Now, what type of man would want that? What type of example are you to go against this teaching? What type of example are you setting?
Yeah.
This woman right here says, bring nothing to the table. Be a gold digger. I'll teach you how to be a gold digger. And this woman right here, all men are dogs. Black men should be canceled. Blah, blah, blah. Then you got this one right here. I don't clean up after my husband. I refuse. I take care of the kids' mess and my own. But he needs to put the dishes in the dishwasher, clothes in the hamper, and clean his own bathroom. Huh?
And so Achao is saying, I don't clean up after my husband. I refuse. I take care of the kids' mess and my own, but he needs to put his dishes in the dishwasher, clothes in a hamper, and clean his own bathroom. And so I hear both sides of the argument, right? So I hear the people who are like, well, if your husband is affording you this lifestyle to be able to be at home and you are the homemaker, if you're a stay-at-home mom, then yes, the house needs to be a certain way when he comes home.
Yeah, but I got this back problem and I'm allergic to all these dishwashing products and bleach and I'm allergic to everything and I have a bad back. I cannot sweep.
Wait a damn minute. Hold on. What the hell is going
on? I break out in hives.
She don't want to do nothing.
You can't do it.
Is this what you say? I got this back problem and then you have that look on your face?
I fake a back injury. Like, I got this back problem.
But they think this junk is a joke.
All right. So then I hear people who are on the internet and they have this argument. Oh, so then he's just paying for your presence.
Well, he can pay for somebody else's presents. Somebody else can pay for mine. That's how I feel.
Okay, so you're saying woman is not obligated to cook, to clean, to nothing, that he's going to pay all of the bills and take care of all of the financial stuff because he enjoys her company.
She's basically an in-house hooker. That's all that it is. It's prostitution. It's not even a marriage. It's prostitution. Because it's only based on a business transaction, and the only thing he gets out of you is the fact that you're standing next to him. It's not a marriage. This is not what marriage is. But the teaching from these women is that's what a marriage is. Very selfish. Very, very selfish. And again, if you're a Christian woman and this is your mentality, this is your mentality. If this is your mentality, you're not a Christian woman. You're not a traditional woman. You're none of that. You're an in-house hooker. A Jezebel. Because you can't be a helpmeet. You can't be a helpmeet if you're not helping to meet the standard.
I don't
I
think
got
she,
a fact
like I
that
said, she shouldn't be obligated if she wants
What?
to, because a lot of people like to cook and some people love to clean. So if that's what she loves to do, then, you know, she'll do it. But if she doesn't like doing that, she should be able to have other options like I said, ordering out or hiring a cleaning service or getting him to do some of the things, some of the cleaning that she don't want to do, like the dirty work.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So then what is your response to the people out there who say that
So again, this is why I said only certain things should a man be paying for. Now, these women are asking for lives to be afforded to them without doing absolutely anything and calling it marriage. And calling it a marriage. I didn't get married to become a maid. These are grown, strong men where we're talking about cleaning up after. He's not a child. What? What? What are you there for? If he can, most men can handle all of these objectives by themselves. And this is why most men are not getting married to y'all. Most men are not getting married to you. They are not marrying y'all. They're not marrying y'all. And if they're marrying y'all, they're finding out in the middle of their marriage that you're not the one for them, and you pull the facade, and then you get a divorce. And then you take half of whatever he owns, and or he becomes docile to the situation, and he gives up in the marriage and just let you do what you want to do. It happens all the time. Especially with these types of women. But this is not what you should be following as a Christian woman. If you're calling yourself a Christian woman, and most of these women would say they want a God-fearing man, but they don't want to submit to God's rule. They don't want to submit to God's rules. I'll submit to a man if he got money. But you never even submitted yourself to God. So how do you want a God-fearing man and a man who's traditional, but you haven't even submitted yourself to the rule of the tradition. You haven't even submitted yourself to the tradition, nor have you submitted yourself to God. So how you deserve a God-fearing man? Because you just want to show up in the best in the church building in your mega church with the best clothes on. That's it. That's what you want. And it can't happen like that. I'm sorry. Finna close this out, man, because y'all can go and watch the rest of the video. But again, the disrespect, man. They don't want to be told the truth. And the reason why they don't want to, and I'm solely talking about women like this, they don't want to be told the truth. Because they have other objectives and motives. And it's not marriage. It's power. It's all about power. And I told y'all, this was a power struggle. This is who's going to dominate who. Not marriage. And that's not marriage. You don't want a relationship. You want a slave. You want a slave. You want control over assets that you didn't work for. You want the easy route. I commend Jessica for making $100,000. I commend her for that. Even though it doesn't work in her benefit when it comes to looking for a man, I commend her for that. She's willing to work. But these women here, these Jezebels, stand clear away from them, because this is not what God wanted for you. And they will tell you you're Christian. They'll go to church with you. They'll meet your mama. They'll meet your church mama. They're going to kick it with all of the females in the church, because most of them thinking the same. A lot of them thinking the same way in the organizations nowadays. They're only there for the music. They're there for the entertainment. They're not there for what God wants. And if you're a God-fearing man, you shouldn't want this for yourself anyway. And it shows, because most men are not trying to get married to these women anyway. And that's why more men statistically are married in the black community than the black women are. It is what it is. I love you guys. Love yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself, and love God with all your heart. Peace.